For me personally, one of the coolest things about 2018 has been the rise of the NPC meme. Because what it's done is it has given a way to describe, an easy way to describe something that many of us have been observing for months or years, or maybe for some of you even decades. This idea that there are people who look like us and who sound like us who cannot grasp the concepts that we're trying to share with them, and who seem to be actively trying to keep out new information, keep out new ideas, and just parrot what they already believe. So many of us have been observing this behavior of the so-called humans around us for a long time, but the NPC meme has given us a way to describe this in simple terms. And I was reminded of this fact just the other day. I've been editing the Dino Skeptic film, as many of you guys know. That's due for release in a few days' time. So I've been spending the last few weeks intensively trying to get this film edited for the deadline. And that's meant going back over a ton of the footage from the road trip that I'd kind of forgotten some of it, because originally the plan was to stick to a basic schedule for filming. But we kind of recorded a few things both in the car on the way there, sort of just chatting in the cabin from place to place, because we were filming on location, of course. So we recorded some things in the cabin or at the places where we were staying, all these kinds of things. And some of the chats that we had, I kind of forgot about. And in one of the chats, Lindsay, who was with me on the trip, and myself, we discussed this particular couple of people, this middle-aged, maybe almost elderly couple who we'd met at one of the venues that we were staying at. And basically they had come and introduced themselves to us. And they sort of started the conversation by saying, "Oh, are you the guys with the drone?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the guy with the drone." And I was using a drone to record some of the establishment shots for the film. But anyway, fast forward, and we're having a chat, and it's all nice and it's all polite. And these people are polite, but eventually it dawns on us that these people are straight up normies. And normies is the word that I used to use, but now I prefer NPCs, depending on who I'm talking with. But it wasn't that they were necessarily one-way political or anything like that. It's more to do with how they dealt with ideas that challenged what they thought they knew, especially when they were challenged in a way that they weren't expecting. Because unlike most so-called conspiracy theorists, myself and a lot of people on my website, we're university educated, and we understand what scientific papers are. We know how to find them, how to read them, how to understand them, and how to challenge them. And we understand what the scientific method is and all these kinds of things. And so as I was trying to explain to them that there may be reasons to doubt the dinosaurs, I think what they were kind of expecting was more of that sort of herp-derp, oh, it's fake because flat earth bullshit, right? Whereas what I was suggesting to them was, well, there's a scientific method. Let's look at if any of the so-called museums that you've been looking at on your trip around this dinosaur area, let's see if any of them actually stick to the scientific method. And of course, none of them do. And so anyway, the point is that the conversation went on, and Lindsay and I were reflecting on it the next day, sort of, why were we talking to these people? What did we hope to achieve? In the future, how do you deal with these people who, they're the ones coming and talking to you, and you realize, hold on, doesn't matter how well-meaning this person is, doesn't matter how nice they might seem, ultimately we're probably wasting our time. If someone has been programmed to believe complete nonsense, nothing that I or you ever say or do is going to change that. So how do we interact with this world around us when we understand that a lot of people, they've been programmed to hate Orange Man bad, okay? Orange Man bad. Orange Man on TV, him's bad. He's a bad guy, he's evil, blah, blah, blah. If they've been programmed to believe that, how do you deal with that? If they've been programmed to believe that there used to be these monsters lurking around the world, raw, you know, if they really believe this shit, then nothing that you or I say or do is going to change that. And they will get angry, they'll get defensive, they'll attack you the moment that you challenge their belief in these fairy tale monsters. So how do you interact with these people? Well, those are the kinds of things that Lindsay and I chatted about in the video. So I've made that available, that full 30-minute chat, I've made that available to freeloader members of johnthebond.com, which means you don't have to pay a cent to access that. So at the moment, there's about 8 or 9 hours of exclusive content on johnthebond.com specifically related to the Dino Skeptic film, and I'll be releasing the full feature-length film to the members in a few days' time. But for those of you who either can't or won't support independent media, I'm also making that particular chat, that 30-minute chat, available to freeloader members of johnthebond.com, and you can check that for yourself in the info box below. So there's a link in the info box. Click that. If you're already a member, a free member, just log in and you can see the full 30-minute video. If you're not yet a freeloader member, just sign up for one. It takes a second. You can check that video out for yourself. And if you are already a full member of johnthebond.com or a foundation member of johnthebond.com, the editing is going fantastically well. I'll be able to get the feature-length film out on Thursday as planned, so that's just a few days away from today. Obviously, I'm staying up pretty late and waking up pretty early to get the finishing touches done, but it's all going terrifically well. I'm very excited about it, and I think you're all going to enjoy it quite a lot. So that'll do it for today on the 19th of November 2018. What I'll do is I'll play, from this point in the video forward, I'll play a few minutes from the 30-minute chat, and if you enjoy it, like I said, go and check out the full 30-minute chat on johnthebond.com, link in the info box below. But on the 19th of November now, 2018, until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. Oh, and if you still believe in these ancient monsters that are 90 million years old, that the experts believe that they can see and can know all these things about, if you're one of those people, you now get to decide, are you going to be an NPC and get defensive about what I'm suggesting, or are you going to look into the so-called science for yourself? Because if you look into the so-called science, you're going to see that dinosaurs are in fact a hoax. Bye-bye.
Those kind of conversations remind me that perhaps the way it's being done now, perhaps there is an argument, if you can just be open-minded enough to entertain it, perhaps there is an argument that the way it's being run right now might be the way to run it, to put the truth in books that are even given to us in school, if we choose to read them, which most people don't. Edward Bernay's book, Propaganda, he says, well, give the people a chance to vote, but there'll be a bunch of men sitting around deciding who's president, and they pay propagandists to help make the public think they've made the decision. Give them their TV shows, give them their reality TV. It'll keep them productive, it'll keep them happy. Things like the dinosaur thing, you know, it allows full-grown adults to believe in monsters. You're allowed to believe in monsters. You know, modern adults are allowed to believe in monsters. Yeah. Giant, scary monsters, worse than some of the tales of the years of yore. And you're fully allowed to believe in them. It's actually scientific to believe in them now. Yeah. Give them their stories, let them believe whatever they want, make them happy. No one's coming to stop me, no one's coming to stop you. I've telegraphed the fact that I'm making this film, not so much as a threatening about. They don't care, no one cares. Let the people live their lives, you know, and then give the masses silly stories to believe in. And if they don't want to believe them, they don't have to. I don't have to, no one has to. Most of them will choose to. And they'll defend it to the day they die, because that's what the masses need, is stuff to believe in. So that's kind of what I explained to her, and she's like, and then Terence was like, no, but you were just saying how bad everything is. I'm like, no, I'm not, that's what you were doing. Like, you started the conversation with us, and I'm just telling you why I don't believe what they're telling us.
Yeah, it was the same when they started talking about the dinosaurs and scientific principles. You were trying to get through them. No, I'm not making a claim, so I don't have to prove it. Yeah. You're the made the claim, or the scientists have made the claim, or whatever. And so I expect them to prove it. And if they can't prove it, well, then I'm not going to believe it. And that was a perfectly reasonable way to approach things, but they didn't seem to be able to get that.
They seemed shocked when I went through that basic scientific method of you observe general phenomena, then you come up with a hypothesis that should be falsifiable. Yep. Great, now we can start trying to falsify the claims that are being made. Then I asked them, in all the tours that you've taken over the last few days, have you seen anything approaching that? It's just a stunned look on their face. Well, of course they haven't. Yeah. Most people don't even know what the scientific method is, including people with degrees from universities. If they've done a science degree, they should know, and usually they do. Yeah. But outside of that, why would you even know, off the top of your head, the scientific method? Of course you wouldn't. So when you've got this guy with a beanie sitting there eating his vegetable lasagna with a drone in the air, so you know he's making a film, and I said, look, this is why I've got this microphone here, because I do like to record stuff, and I am making a film, that's the truth of the matter. I showed him the business card. To sit there and then listen to that guy explain the scientific method, which, if they're being honest, they probably couldn't have recited off the top of their head. And then to think he's right, actually, we haven't seen any of that at least. It's not going to change their minds, but it would have probably caused some cogs in their head to spin the wrong way.
Yeah, because they came away from thinking that you were just like a wrecker, whereas no, that's the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, I thought you put it pretty well, but I'm not trying to pee in your pocket. That's like you say all the time.
Well, I apologised to you afterwards. I said, like, Lindsay, I should have identified. Here's the problem. For the last few months, maybe 6 months, I'm not sure how long it's been, maybe even 12 months now, I haven't haven't been making an effort to get out and just chat with the regular people. I used to make an effort once every couple of weeks, go to the philosophy chat meetups or go to different meetups around Brisbane, just chat with people, just listen to what they have to say. Not try and convince them of anything, just listen to what they have to say, remind myself that these are regular people, this is the world we live in. Because the guys who I hang out with, they're the same guys I've hung out with for years now in Brisbane, right? They're good guys, I get along with them, we chat about the same topics. Outside of that, I'm not really mixing with the regular people all that often. And so if the same thing was to happen to us tonight, I would identify early in the conversation that these people might be lovely people, but there's nothing that I can do to help them. There's very little they can do to help me. As pleasant as a conversation is, time is finite, especially on a 9-day skeptic road trip.
Yeah.
So I apologised to Lindsay as we were walking back. I was like, mate, sorry, I probably should have identified the situation earlier and then skedaddled, because you were pretty tired as well by the whole thing. But yeah, it's just a matter of reminding yourself there are people out there, lovely people, well-meaning people, pleasant people, intelligent, educated people who truly believe that Donald Trump is a bad guy and that if only Hillary had got him, things would be better, and that Kim Jong-il is one red button away from killing. They truly, really believe that.
Yeah.
And when you take a step back, Lindsay, and think about that, if that's their thinking, if that's really the way they see the world, how on earth is anything you or I say to them about any topic of significance going to be of any use to them?
Yeah, well, no, I agree entirely with you. And it was, anyway, it was just frustrating for me. Like, the sort of thing we're talking about is, the gentleman was an atheist. I'm an atheist. But then when it comes to the crunch, oh yeah, he believes in good and bad. Oh, the 10 Commandments are a wonderful thing, and they pretty much sum up, and I'm thinking, that's almost like schizophrenia, or that's the way.
Of course it is.
And I think it was almost like a whole lot of other topics he was judging in the same way. So it's very difficult to discuss anything with them, because you can't, there is no logic to it all.
Exactly.
Anyway, now can I just say one other thing too? Before you were talking about the monsters, adults having monsters in their lives, it just reminded me that nearly every one of those videos we saw in the tourist things finished up with a dinosaur rushing at the screen with its mouth open.
Yep.
Did you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I bought one of the DVDs. So
oh, okay.
probably,
Yeah. No, it happened once, and then a second time, and then a third time, and I thought, this is part of it. You know, even then, before we started discussing this, you think, we've got to make it scary. Anyway, I won't go on anymore.
This is something I haven't really elaborated on much, but I probably will more in the future for the members of the website, for the very tiny audience. It's like, take a step. I keep saying this, take a step back and think about it. The modern adult today is not only allowed to, he's encouraged to believe in monsters. But we don't call them monsters, we call them dinosaurs. And it's like, what? You don't believe in dinosaurs? Like that's, you must be crazy, man. It's like, yeah, I'm the crazy one. You fully believe in monsters, but you just call them dinosaurs, that's all.